Today I'm talking about the Freedom 3 after 100 miles. .8 miles, 9 minutes and 19 seconds per mile, I think, at a relatively easy effort. The reason why I'm not sure is because I had an issue with my watch today where I was tracking the activity fine. I ended the activity fine, but then when I went to go look at it later, it seemed to be gone. Not sure what happened with that there. It seems to have been a one-time only fluke. It was with the Polar Grit X that I've been wearing. So we'll see if that happens again. It hasn't happened again so far, but on today's run, I don't have exact numbers, but I think that's about what I had based on like the last time I remember looking at the watch. But in any event, with today's miles, I was able to get the Saucony Freedom 3 up to 100 miles. Now, before I get to my thoughts on this shoe and why I wasn't even sure that I'd be able to make it to 100 miles in this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that I purchased with my own money. No one sent it to me or is going to reimburse me for the purchase price. And no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. Now, the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about the Saucony Freedom 3. The Freedom 3 this year gets the PWRRRUN treatment with a full-length PWRRRUN Plus midsole. It's that material that we've seen in the Triumph 17 and in the Kinvara 11. Although with the Kinvara 11, there was a mixture of PWRRRUN Plus and PWRRRUN, so it's a couple of different things going on in that one. But it's a foam that a lot of you have liked, and I've definitely loved it. I was excited to try the Freedom 3 for the first time this year, now that it had that PWRRRUN Plus in it. And it is a fantastic feeling foam, and there's just so much of that material as well. We got 23.5 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, which makes for a very squishy ride that on longer runs and easier paces for me has been very, very comfortable. And at 8.4 ounces though, it also weighs in at the weight of a daily trainer. So it seems to be giving you the best of both worlds. A couple of drawbacks though. I did like the material on the forefoot of the Freedom 3. It's very stretchy, nice and breathable. The toe box was very comfortable overall, but as you get further back, then I started to have some issues with the upper on this shoe. It gets to be a little bit warm. The stitching design here is beautiful, but the material that they're using here is a little bit harder to breathe through. Then we start to see all the padding and stuff on the back of the shoe and in the heel. So the tongue is padded, the laces are padded. I'm not a big fan of padded laces. They just tend to soak up sweat. And then around the heel collar, there's all this very comfortable memory foam type of material. Not quite as much as we've seen in the Triumph 17, but there's just enough there to make it comfortable, but also makes it a concern for me as we're in the summer months now, that this is just going to be a big sweat collector. I've run in Saucony shoes with this material before, like the Triumph 17, like the Ride series, and it definitely does just collect a bunch of sweat. So my concern is that this is going to be a very hot shoe for the rest of the summer, even though the toe box is fantastic. Moving to the outsole, we've got a full coverage on the outsole. The rubber is holding up fantastically well over time. Hardly would be able to tell that this is a 100-mile shoe. And I'm starting to think that the 4mm heel drop on this shoe suits me well, because when I look at the normal spot where I get a lot of wear and tear, right here on the outer part of the heel, there's hardly any scuffing there at all. So maybe this is something that just naturally suits me, and maybe I need to run in more 4mm heel drop shoes. But it's been very comfortable to run overall in this outsole pattern. The grip is solid and secure, and there's plenty of it left. Definitely a very durable shoe. Even after 100 miles, the PWRRRUN Plus midsole foam still feels super fresh. It doesn't feel like a 100-mile shoe at all. It certainly has lost a little bit of that initial squish, but still a very comfortable shoe and certainly can go to the distance, which is something that I would expect from previous experiences with PWRRRUN Plus foam. Now let's get to the one thing that I think that stops me from making this one of my favorite shoes of the year, and may not even be an issue for you, or maybe a feature for some of you guys. And that's what's going on here. Right here, there is this extra little stuff going on the outsole that lets you know that there is an extra level of kind of density in this part of the midsole foam. And what that is what Saucony likes to put in a lot of their shoes as a hint of stability. And that's something that for a lot of you, that has been a really big feature and something that you guys love. Not quite as stable as a stability shoe, but not quite as loosey-goosey as a regular neutral daily trainer. But that's something that bothers me. What I found once I got to like the 60-mile mark on this shoe is that my right knee really started to bother me. I did give this shoe a break. I ran in some other shoes for a long time, neutral shoes that don't have that hint of stability in it. And then I came back to the shoe later and it felt fine, but the following morning, my knee started to feel like, okay, it's a little bit grumpy. It's growling at me just a little bit. It's not hurting, it's not bad again, but I feel it. So I think it was definitely this shoe that was giving me that kind of knee issue that I was having earlier. Those of you who have been watching for the past couple of months, you've heard me talking about something going on with my knee. It may be some sort of kind of shin splint. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't think it was completely the fault of this shoe. There was a lot of other shoes that I was running in at the time that I didn't really agree with either. So it could be a combination of things that was going on, but I definitely noticed that hint of stability that was in this shoe, or at least I didn't notice it, but my knees did. Now here where I am in Iowa for the summer, or at least for a couple of weeks anyway, there's a lot of dirt roads. So I'm splitting up my time between the road type surfaces that I normally run on and softer dirt road surfaces. And it's been raining fairly regularly here, so those dirt roads tend to get very soft. And I haven't really noticed any issues being able to kind of close out this shoe and finish getting it to 100 miles. So that's kind of the plus side of it. So it might not be an issue, and it probably won't be an issue for most of you, but when I tell you guys, like, I don't like to run in stability shoes because it bothers my knee, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, and this is the kind of thing that I definitely noticed. But I'm not going to try and knock down the shoe too much because of this, because I know that it is something that other people like, but it is something that happened to me. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of it. Overall though, I think what Saucony has done is they put together a very solid shoe here. You've got a springy ride, squishy almost is what I would call it, but one that could certainly soak up the miles, but has the agility for a wide variety of types of runs. It can be your do-it-all type of shoe. I can certainly see a lot of people putting in their long runs or even their marathon efforts in this shoe. I didn't particularly like it for speedier stuff. I liked it at the daily training effort, or even slower for recovery runs or very long runs, but it certainly has the range to do a wider variety of things. So those are my thoughts on the Saucony Freedom 3 after 100 miles. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below, and I'd love to talk to you guys about it more down there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?